Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Rabbi.
Good morning.
We are learning Mishnah's Nedarim, Parak Gimel, Chapter 3, Mishnah Beis, Mishnah 2. Okay, so the next example of the Nedarim that the sages already declared they're completely invalid is Nidre Havoy, which means Nedarim of exaggeration. For instance, Amar, he says like this, Kainam, my loaf of bread should be like a carbon, it should be forbidden. If I didn't see as many people on this road at one time, like the number of people who left Egypt, then my loaf of bread should be forbidden to me. Follow that? He is trying to say, I saw so many people here, and like if you don't believe me, my bread should be forbidden. But he didn't say so many people. He said, I saw the number of people who left Egypt. I saw them on this road. And if you don't believe, and if it's not, and if you don't believe me, if it's not true, my bread should become forbidden. That's what he said. That is a exaggeration. That's the point of the Mishnah, exaggeration. Because as I explain here, the general rule is that the meaning of an neder depends on the way people normally express themselves. Therefore, since people tend to exaggerate in these ways, this person's statement can be understood as an exaggeration, not as an exact statement of fact. So, he was exaggerating, and he even added a neder to it to prove his point. But we understand that this is the way people speak; it's an exaggeration, and he didn't mean it. He didn't really mean it as he said it as a fact. That's one example. Next example. This loaf of bread should become forbidden to me if I didn't see a snake that looked like the beam of an olive press. Now, what's the point of that? What is describing it like the beam of an olive press? So I always thought it meant like I saw a snake as big as the beam of an olive press. It's a description of how big it was. That's not how they explain it here. They explain it here from the Rambam, here in the notes. This is what is this Kares Beis Habad? What's this beam of the olive press? So they explain this is a heavy beam that is lowered onto the olives and squeezes the oil out of them. It is wide at the bottom and its sides slope inward. Not sure exactly, it's like a triangle of sorts. Meeting at the top. Again, it is wide at the bottom, and its sides slope inward, meeting at the top. The literal meaning of the person's words is that he had seen a snake with this triangular shape. That's what he's saying. I saw a snake that looked like the beam of an olive press, and if it's not true, this loaf of bread should be forbidden upon me. Meaning my loaf of bread should be forbidden upon me if I didn't see such a snake. Okay, here again, it's an exaggeration. He doesn't mean it. It is impossible, as I explain here on the bottom, in both these examples given, it is impossible for someone to see 600,000 people in one place. Not going to see 600,000 people in one place, which is what he's saying. Badach, on this road, I saw 600,000 people at one time. You're not going to see that. Rather, he meant he saw a huge crowd. It's also impossible to see a snake shaped like the beam of an olive press, because no such snake exists. His intent was that the snake looked somewhat like such a beam, but he didn't mean it literally. And therefore, although he said, my bread should become forbidden to me if I didn't see this, he was exaggerating, and therefore there is no question that he didn't mean it as a fact, and therefore the neder that he connected to it is ineffective, unquestionably. Okay, that's the first example, Nidre Havai, of vows, Nedarim of exaggeration. The next is Nidre Shkavis, which means vows of mistakes. Okay, which is going to mean that he made a vow based on some and based on some kind of mistaken premise, or based on a mistake. Now, first example, Nidre Shkavis, vows of mistakes. He says like this. He says, my loaf for bread should be like a konam, it should be like a carbon to me if I ate or I drank today. You follow that case? He's saying, if I ate or I drank today, this loaf of bread should become forbidden to me. And then he realized that he did eat and he did drink. So when he made the vow, he thought that he didn't drink or eat that day. And then he realized that he did. That means his vow his neder was premised on a mistake. His premise was he made the vow thinking that he didn't eat or drink that day, and he really did. So it was a mistake. So therefore, we say the vow is not going to be a valid vow. Or next example, shani oichel v'shani shoyse v'shochach v'achal v'shasa. Now here he says, my loaf of bread should become forbidden to me if I eat or drink today, not if I ate or drank. If I eat or drink today. That means right now he's making a vow, he's making a neder, that if I eat or drink today, this loaf of bread should become forbidden. And what happened? The shachach, he forgot that he made that vow, v'achal v'shasa, and he ate and he drank. So this case we have to think about a little bit more. You know, there was one thing about the mistake before. It was a mistake, right? He thought he made the vow, made the neder, thinking that he did not eat or drink, and he really did. It was a mistake. Okay. Here, it's not a mistake. I mean, the way we would call a mistake. Here, the point is, he said previously, if I eat or drink today, the loaf of bread should become forbidden. Now, he ate and he drank. Now, when he ate and he drank, he clearly forgot about the neder that he made, because he wouldn't have made that neder, because he wouldn't have eaten or taken a drink if he would remember that vow, that neder that he made. So this too is called a mistake. It's a mistake in the sense that when he again, the vow was, if I eat or I drink today, this loaf of bread should become forbidden to me. And at the end of the day, when he ate or he drank, it was a mistake that he ate or he drank, because he would not have done that if he would remember that he made a vow before. But again, when he made the vow, there was no mistake then. The mistake came later, basically on the condition or on the thing that he was talking about when he made the vow before. When he made the vow, he wasn't mistaken then. The mistake comes later on when he ate or he drank. So it's different than the case before. And how do we even know that such a thing would be considered a mistaken vow? When he made the vow, there was no mistake yet. And it was only later, when he ate or drank, which is what he made, which he connected the vow to, there he made a mistake at that point of time, and not when he made the vow. And what the Mishna is teaching us is that you have to be cognizant of your neder when the neder comes into effect. It's not just about when you made the neder, was there a mistaken premise there or not? What it means is that when the neder comes into effect, you have to be cognizant. You have to be aware. You should not have forgotten about it when it takes effect, because if it takes effect, you forgot about it. It's not going to take effect. We have a pasuk. The Torah gives us, actually points this out, or we derive this from the laws of a shvuah. When a person makes a shvuah, he makes an oath. He says an oath that he's not going to eat or drink. So there we said, let me read it to you here from the notes. A verse in the Torah is interpreted as teaching that a neder or shvuah is valid only if the person is aware of it when it is supposed to take effect. That is something we derive by the law of a shvuah, and we apply it to a neder. You have to be aware of your neder or shvuah when it comes into effect. It's not just about when you make it, when it comes into effect. And therefore, in this case, in the Mishna's case, the prohibition was supposed to take effect when the person eats or drinks. That's what he said. The bread should become forbidden to me if I eat or drink. That means that if he eats or drinks, that is when the neder comes into effect. But he did not remember the neder at that time, because it's clear that he forgot about it. Because if he wouldn't have forgotten about it, he wouldn't have eaten or drank, and therefore it's considered invalid. It's not just invalid. It's not only considered a neder of a mistake when at the time that you made the neder it was a mistake, but if at the time where the neder comes into effect there is a mistake, then meaning you did not remember that you made a vow, which leads you to do what you did mistakenly, which brings the neder into effect. Since at the time of the effect, you didn't remember your vow, because clearly you didn't, because otherwise you wouldn't have eaten, that is why this vow does not come into effect. So it's not the same mistake as in the first case, but it's a mistake that shows us that he forgot about the vow when the vow would come into effect, when the neder would come into effect. And if you're basically not cognizant of the neder, when the neder comes into effect, the neder does not come into effect. And that's why in this case, at the end of the day, we say that he did not, the loaf of bread that he said should become forbidden if I eat or drink does not actually become forbidden. Okay, we'll continue with this tomorrow.
Think before you speak.
Okay.